Hello, dear families with little children from 2 to 6, maybe sometimes a little older. This is going to be our fifth art activity for whole family. Today we're going to combine artistic skills with little crafty skills. Personally, me, I'm not crazy about craft projects, but combination usually is very beneficial to develop creativity and to learn to use different kind of media. That's going to be the benefit of combining today art and craft way of thinking. So as you see, I'm already here with the materials we're going to use. This is the crafty part of our activity today. I'm not going to tell you right away what we're going to make because I want you to think, all of you, babies and families and grown-ups, think about what possibly you think we can make out of these filters, coffee filters. Those will be very useful as well, very similar shaped and designed, but with more bright colors and little sizes. So let's think about what possibly this all can become. And I'm going to tell you while you're thinking to not waste time because we don't want to make the video too long. I will tell you what else we will need. We will need a glue, we will need a scissor, we will need Sharpies, colorful Sharpies. Can be replaced with crayons, but I would prefer Sharpies for this. We need brighter colors, and Sharpies are giving chance to give very bright colors without pushing hard. Pushing hard is not easy for little ones. Then we will need plastic or paper cups, big, small, doesn't matter. One or two, not a lot. Then we will need a black Sharpie. If child has very hard time to deal with lines, we may need a pencil and eraser just to make sure that we, do some sketch before we actually put color on it. And some kind of marbles, glossy objects, buttons, anything will work, including even stickers. I know in every family there are some stickers. You can use fancy stickers, you can use regular stickers. You may end up not using stickers at all. It's going to be up to you. As always in our art, total freedom of expression and choice. And I know that that's one of the most important approaches, and kids like to have a choice, including, of course, we will need a piece of paper that we're going to use for our artwork, and it may have all different colors. Any color you want, red, pink, white. I prefer white in this case because on a white surface we see more, the colors will be more clear. So, any idea what possibly we can make using all this? I'm not going to waste our time, and I'm going to show you, ta-da! This is what's going to happen. We're going to make this flower. Look at the amount of the petals the flower has. This one designed by markers, as you see. This one designed with watercolor. Look at bright colors we have. This one designed just using regular Sharpie. This requires a little knowledge of geometry, proportions and stuff, which everything actually needs this kind of knowledge. We may not even realize how complicated all those concepts can be for little ones. So therefore, it will be correct, proper way to have some kind of fun conversation, interesting conversation about the symmetry, about what design is, the concept of ornament and stuff before we start doing the flowers. As you see, even the leaves are done with cupcake forms. So this is what's going to happen. There is a beautiful fairy tale. I'm not sure if every family knows about this fairy tale. It's about magic flower that has this power of making the wishes come true, and that beautiful flower has 7 petals. If we keep up with 7, great. If we don't, that's still fine, because the little ones get tired very easily, so we can do 2 or 3, it's fine. So there is a belief that every time when you have a wish, you can use one of the petals and one of your wishes come true, but you need to be very careful because you have to make sure that all your wishes, the most important wishes, fits into 7, no more than that, otherwise they will not come true. So this is that magic flower that we have. So let me make sure that you see all this. So this is the watercolor again, this is Sharpie, and this is what we do with scissors. So can you see how many different medias we learn to use, including scissors, which is not very easy for little ones. So that's the flower. We're going to put this on a side, and this is how we start. I'm sure that mommies and daddies already understand how it's going to work, but before we start, let's talk about the concept of design. So when we talk about the design, it's nice to see certain kind of images. Right here we have all different designs. So, and it's very important to understand that when we want to design something, especially when we want to do ornaments, the necessary component of this is having patterns. We see patterns here, we see patterns here. Discuss with your child what kind of patterns he see around your room, his room, in the kitchen. There's always some kind of patterns if we take a close look. So if they're noticing those kind of things, ta-da, they're ready. This is another pattern that we can look at. So we have flowers made by geometrical shapes, and then we have regular zigzags. Then the flowers will definitely end up repeating. Let me see if I have a continuation there. So see, it repeats itself. There's line of flowers, then some zigzags, then again line of flowers. So the pattern is the necessary part. Besides geometrical shapes, of course we can use some kind of botanical ornaments, as we see right here on this beautiful. So this is beautiful design made with not only geometrical but also botanical shapes and lines. So this is easier pattern to see. So as long as we know what pattern is, we're ready. We need to know before we do it. I would suggest to start with watercolor because we need some time for watercolor to dry up, or any kind of paint. So let's pay attention to the fact that those filters are not just regular circles. As you see, there is a center right here. We can see these folded parts, the wrinkles on it. So let's make this center separate so it will be clear for children. And let's make sure that our children see all these lines. As long as they realize what we're talking about, we can stop. So we can use this. It will make our pattern and our design way easier to create. So it's nice to have a bigger brush, so we don't need to do a lot of lines. Just one touch will create the line that we're looking for. This is what we're doing. The simplest thing, if nothing else, we're just filling one line with the color we want. Just make sure that you're not touching next to this, because when we touch it, we will create a mess. We'll let it dry a little bit. We'll move to the other side and we're gonna fill the other line. With the paint, it will be harder to make more fine design. Therefore, we are doing this at this point. Then we can work with more fine lines and designs when we design the other filters. So the most important part, to not touch next sequence to it. So we're letting it dry. This is one of my favorite colors. That's why I'm preferring to choose this. I'm not going to do everything because it will take forever. Then this dries a little bit while we're working around the flower, and then as time, and it's not too dangerous to use different color next to it, so we can go with different color again, trying to not mix them with each other. And we use as many color as we want, and of course, as always, we have some napkin. So this is when it's ready. I'm not going to finish because we will not have time for all that. This is what's happening. We're putting it on the top of the cup, which can be plastic, which can be paper. Paper is preferable because it dries easily. Then we'll just put this right there. It will help us to create this nice flower shape right there. So let it dry. While it's drying up, we can start working on the others. So I would take second one, and in this case, colorful crayons or markers, preferably markers may work. So here again, we're not paying much attention to the center because it's going to be covered, as you saw right here. The center gets covered by layers. That's why we're not wasting our time with that. So just we found the center, so we don't bother with the center, and we work. It's up to the children. Younger they are, more simpler things they will end up doing. Most likely they will just fill this up, you know, line after line. I would ask them to make a little bit more, to use a little extra imagination, and maybe we can go like this, and just pay attention that the edges are more important because those are going to be more visible. So we can use waves like this, or we can use maybe zigzags and fill them, you know, so more detailed. And patterns, again, if we started with waves, we end up with waves. So we do the from line to line, we do zigzag and then fill up, end up having triangle. So every time when we're doing something like this, we are remembering the shapes. So we're learning geometry and math. We're learning how many we can do. And then we're learning that there is a lines, wavy lines, as you see. So slowly, this simple thing as art teaches our children a geometry. We're learning shapes, we're learning proportions, we're learning about the center, we're learning about the edge and the center. Those are quite complicated concepts to learn, and this is one really fun way of doing it. Let's see, what else can I do on the edge? Of course, we're doing all this. I'm not going to do it to not waste our recording time. I would take, let's say, this blue, that's my favorite blue, and I can add some circles right here. Maybe in each, maybe I'm missing one and doing another, maybe I'm doing more colorful. So it's all up to the child and you. You can have the same fun with your child. Trust me, it's very fun, especially if you think about the magic power of the flower. When you do the flower, you will have a nice chance to make your wishes come true. So I will have another cup, and I will put this on another cup, and again use this and wait for a while. So this will give me again a nice shape here that will be used for a flower. Well, it's not centered, see? When I'm rushing, it's not happening the way I want. So we find the center. We can find the center and hold it, and our excited child can put this on the top, and then we will end up having all this wrinkly, nicely done design. This is going to wait for us somewhere else. The next we can use, I would suggest this for children 5 and older. So now we are going to make sure that we are working just with a Sharpie. Usually little ones, they prefer to work with colors because it's more emotional thing to do. And very rarely in my practice, and research is also show that most of the children prefer to work with colors instead of just do sketches, because sketch is more kind of a cognitive thing. And as we know, children are more emotional. So, but to develop cognitive skills, it will be really great to have one of those filters designed by just regular black color. The reason I asked you to have a pencil, if it's very hard for a child, it will be very useful to do it with regular pencil, because Sharpie you cannot fix anymore. By pencil, and if you see it's good already, then we can go over. It's fine, they do it as long they get cheered up. You tell them all the things that they learn and that's happening. They get cheered up and they will not be complaining about doing first with pencil, erasing, fixing, and then going over with the Sharpie. So let's say I'm doing this, and then it's always perfectly fine to get some kind of ideas on the side, like look at this, that may give you some idea, because this is going to be the hardest part. When we do free projects, kids are freer because by nature they are free. They're not in the boxes as we are already. And when it's free project, they have more fun. When we ask something that has anything to do with the symmetrical shapes, the sizes and stuff, it's very hard for them to, so please be patient with them. So we can take a look at this, we can take a look at this. This may give us some ideas. We adults will have easier time, of course, to think of what to do. Here we can add the same zigzags. And this sequence we can have circles, we can color in or not. The other areas we can just go like this. Okay, so something like this can work too. We can do the sequences or not do, it's all up to us. Then what else possibly we can do? We can have regular waves instead of zigzags. Kids are capable to differentiate the zigzags and waves, believe it or not, even when you're there too. We just need to mention it. So then we have this, and now we have three big filters designed by different art medias. So we already kind of explored watercolor, we explored Sharpie. Then we explored black Sharpie and colorful Sharpie. It makes big difference to have, I'm sure everyone will agree, design like this or like this. Some of children will not be interested to do this, but please convince them to try at least. If we end up not having symmetrical shapes, that's perfectly fine. So please, no criticism, just cheerful attitude. Now, those will be way easier because they're already pretty enough. To make it really look good, we're going to do this. This is the reverse side is more beautiful, so we're reversing. I would choose different sizes, because if I do the same size red and green, most likely, see, this will cover, so we don't want it. That's why I would choose just silver. So our next step is, this is what we're going to do. We take all these materials. What kind of order we choose, it's all up to us. Oh, I forgot to mention the scissor part. So when we do the scissor, this is one of the most fun things, and trust me, it develops fine motor skills as good as probably nothing does, because the paper is very soft, easy to cut. They're learning to fold them to create small triangle. As many times we fold there, easier will be cut. And we put here several cuts. Just make sure that the child is aware that the cut cannot go until the end. We're just covering the end. So we just hold all this together. It is very, very difficult for children to do, but they can do it. They need to just get the concept how to do it, and they will love doing it. So this is one of the shapes, parts of the flower that may be very, very useful. So ta-da, when we open, we have all this beautiful fluff. We can make more if we want to. We can just have one and consider that it's enough. So what's going to happen now, we will glue. Here we go. So we use any color we want, and as I said, I choose white at this point. I'm going to remove all this. I don't need this anymore. So I'm choosing quite long paper because I feel like in future I may want to work on a pot as well. I will show you how, but the pot is going to be definitely a new project in this case. So what we do, we take a glue, we glue it on the top of the paper. We're not using center, we're using somewhere higher points. So we put on the top of the paper, we glue this, and then it's all up to us what's going after what. Consider this has to be all colored as it's here. That's why I did ahead of time, so I don't waste my time doing this here. So I feel like, well, now this colorful watercolor will be fine to glue here. Now I'm gonna put this here. See, remember I said it will get a beautiful shape if we keep it on the top of the cup. This is what's happening. It's not dry even yet. So then we're going to do the same thing. We're going on the top with the glue. Then we're using the design done by just black Sharpie. Okay, the center can be a little bit wrinkled, fine, as long as we're getting a nice shape of the petal. So this is right here. We're pushing, make sure we're pushing so it will be glued. Then after this, I'm going to use the green color right here in the center, and then I'm going to use silver right here. So when it's all glued, don't forget that we will definitely need a stem for the flower. So let the child do the stem using, let's make it a little thick. So we do 2 lines to make it thick. Let them think about this concept, how to make the stem thick instead of looking like a thin wire, just thicker, because that becomes a challenge too quite often, believe it or not. Let them think and guess how that possibly can happen. The very, very thin stem all of a sudden becomes thick. And let's use different kind of greens to make it more 3-dimensional, light and shade. So this is it. And instead of the regular leaves, we can draw leaves if we want to. It's all up to the child. Again, when we draw the leaves, it can be with a straight edges, or it can be, so 2 leaves, right? This. The same thing, make sure you find the center, and then we're coloring with all different kind of greens. So we have those geometrical divisions, and it's quite easy for them to color when you're telling them one sequence do with one green and do another sequence with another. If they prefer watercolor, perfect, let them color with watercolor. Or as I told you, we can use another cupcake cups and just glue green. So it's total freedom, and that's the beauty of this project. So when we color all this, we're almost there. The only thing, if there is a willingness to continue the project, we can think about vases that we can put the flower in, or we can make believe it somewhere in the grass and we can do the grass. It's all up to you. So the vases can be all different shapes here. Here are the vases. So the easy solution can be, we'll discuss vases with the next class. So we can cut some kind of fabric, or this is a fabric, or any piece of designed paper, and just glue, boom, right here. It may look like a vase. Well, if I would have the leaves a little higher, I could easily do like this vase. Okay, but we're not going to discuss it right now. It's for next class, because vases